Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls from around the world, you have tuned into the #1 spoken word show in Washington, D.C. You are listening to the King of 9 p.m., the most exceptional one himself. You are listening to the Exceptional Conservative Show live from the nation's capital. We are not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation, first to the Republican and then the socialist. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so glad you are here this evening. I am really pumped up tonight. This is that Christmas rap jam. We have much to be excited about. Mary Brockman, first and foremost, is in the chat room. Smooches to you, Mary. Mary's my bouncer. If you diss her, you diss me, and you will be dismissed. Dave Milner, my good friend, the unpleasant blind guy, is up in the house. Say hizzy on the exceptionalconservativeshow.com. More to join. Those who are tuning in to us on Ustream, thank you, love you. Live stream, thank you, love you. I am so filled and so excited because God is answering prayer. And I'm going to tell you all about it in just a little bit. And I am sneaking into today's show. I'm not wearing a hat. You like it? You like it? My wife will probably come out in a few moments and throw me a hat because I'm not supposed to. My wife, the lovely Mrs. Biggs, watching via live stream, Ustream. Deborah's up in the camp, all becoming more conservative every single day. Love you having you in here tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a big show, big time. You're going to get a sneak peek for Saturday's New Day Black and Red, which is heard on WNJC 1360 AM. I want to thank those people at Reboot Liberty. Kick it, jam it, love it. High Plains Talk, SHR Media, The Voice of Liberty, Blueberry and Stitcher, and all the others that carry our program around the world. We have much to be excited about tonight. I am telling you, I am so thankful for you, my audience. And for those who watch via YouTube as well. You know how we kick off this show every time we start. There is no better way to do it. We take off our hats. We put our hand on our heart, right hand on our heart. And we pledge the allegiance to the United States of America. Here we go.
Take your parents. Ready, begin. To the flags of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Woo! That's what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. It is no better sight than to see your little pre-K kids put their hand on their chest, the right hand, you know, because, you know, hey, you know, it takes a little while. Sometimes learning the left from the right takes a little while, but to actually hear them recite the Pledge of Allegiance, oh, that's golden. That is golden. Wow, this is a very big night tonight. Thank you, Dave. Thank you. Dave says I'm looking great, and that's all that matters, as long as Dave thinks I'm looking great. Not that the pseudo-executive directors of my program, Mrs. Biggs and Mary, have anything to say about that. Not that I would change if they said anything. I ain't scared. You all know that we have been fighting, my wife and I, and even Deborah. Thank you, Deborah, for all of your support of the Open Heart Closed Case campaign, and Dave and Mary and your prayers, and all the others from around the world who have been praying for the Open Heart Closed Case campaign. And I'm going to take a lap here, if I can, if you all don't mind me taking a lap right about here. There is great joy in Mudville, simply because the Open Heart Closed Case campaign has been more influential than a lot of people would like to admit. You know that in July, when we started the writing campaign, we sent out letters directly to all of the council members demanding that there was a public safety hearing. And in addition to that, my wife and I were, well, my wife certainly more so than I, received acknowledgement for being a great mother, and the mother of Shanice Milton receiving an award on behalf of Francine for journalism for an event, and they will give it out annually. But at that event, I spoke with the chairman, Mendelson, and advised him that we are demanding a public hearing for real solutions. And the way he rubbed my hand, the way I rubbed his hand, you know, we were only doing formalities. We have a disdain for each other. It's long, but deserved. They held the public hearing. I got a chance to speak, and I promoted not only the need for there to be closed cases in the District of Columbia, but attentions towards the gang violence in our city, and as well, Relisha Rudd. And in fact, I think I was the only one, and maybe if my wife could pop out for just a moment and nod her head yay or nay, if that was the case. I was the only one, I think, who spoke about Relisha Rudd at that public safety hearing. Others have been working steadfastly. The Create Relisha Rudd group have been working on that as well in the District of Columbia. We met with Jill Upson up in West Virginia about the Relisha Rudd Act. And by golly, we have been sincere in these particular efforts. But as I got off the air with you all last night, I was able to rejoice. I was able to rejoice because I received word regarding Relisha Rudd. And that word was very special. And what I want to do, I was the only one? I was the only one? Okay. I just want to make that plain. The executive director did say I was the only one that night who spoke about Relisha Rudd. When I got off the air with you all and Dave gave his last kudos, actually it was after I got off the air from listening to Sackheads Radio. Okay, it was that late at night. It was like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning here. And I just was doing a little research, and all of a sudden, up popped this story. Now, this is, and I just want to be honest, a couple of days ago, I held a conversation with the commanding officer for detectives for District of Columbia about the 75 angels that Howie Coleman had coalesced to help close cases. 75 private detectives from around the world, KGB, CIA, IRS, FBI. They're retired. They want to go out and they want to help close cases in Washington, D.C. Well, see, I want you all to see exactly what this work, our faith, our living God has done. Roll them.
Today, in the nearly 2-year-long hunt for Relisha Rudd, police found no sign of the missing little girl in a massive empty lot at New York Avenue and Bladensburg Road in Northeast. Bruce LeShan is live at that scene. And Bruce, does the search go anywhere from here?
It does, Leslie. This is the lot where they failed to find anything, but they have another location in mind. The chief is not saying where it is right now because she doesn't want people tramping across it before investigators have had a chance to check it methodically. Dozens of police recruits searched the abandoned 15-acre site where Walmart had once considered building a store. Cadaver dogs sniffed the ground for any scent of Relisha Rudd. She was just 8 years old when last seen alive in that grainy surveillance tape from the Holiday Inn Express less than a block away.
Well, oftentimes children are not taken very far, especially if in the case of the child may have been murdered or violently victimized.
Relisha had been with Khalil Tatum, the janitor at the homeless shelter where she lived, the man police suspect killed his wife in a hotel and then killed himself in a park just a few miles away.
This is the first step in what is probably going to be several days of additional searches.
Police, the FBI, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children hit on this location not because of any strong new lead, but simply because they'd gone back over Tatum's movements in the 3 weeks he had Relisha before her school reported her missing. 21 months after her disappearance, the faint hope of finding her body in this lot just across the street from the 5th District Police Station ended in another disappointment.
It gets more difficult every single day, but that doesn't mean that we're going to stop looking.
But for now, there is no sign of the beautiful little girl who, like so many others, just loved to dance and to... Now, Tatum also bought lime, a shovel, and large garbage bags at the Home Depot just a little ways from here. Police suspect that he may have buried Relisha, but they also say that the ground here is so hard no one would want to dig in it. Live in Northeast D.C., Bruce Leshan, WUSA 9.
All right, Bruce, thank you. Investigators also fear Tatum may have disposed of Relisha's body in a dumpster. And because it took 3 weeks for anyone to tell them she was missing, they worry they may never find her.
Ladies and gentlemen, we pray every single day that Relisha Rudd will be found. We pray that she's found alive. We also pray that if she is found, that we can close that particular case. I want to thank Henderson Long, who has been working just unselfishly at Upward Bound Promotions, LLC. And this is what you normally know that I ask you all to do stuff for me while I'm on the air. But I want you all to do me this great favor. Because he is such a silent man. He was at the events. He's been walking with us every step of the way with the Open Heart Closed Case campaign. This is his telephone number. It is 877-905-5153. His name is Henderson Long. And I'm also going to give his Facebook site. For those who are following along at home, we are at theexceptionalconservative.com, so you can get this information accordingly. Thank you, Dave. At least there's some progress by disposing of a negative. Thank you. You're absolutely right. 877-905-5153. 877-905-5153. That's the number to Henderson Long. Henderson Long has been a champion. I mean, just an absolute positive champion. And he's also doing some of the same work in terms of getting messages out to the community. And there's some people in my community who think Mary's right. You've seen Henderson's post. There's some people in my community that won't help me because they know that I'm a conservative, that I'm the exceptional one. But they will help Henderson Long. And I'm not going to curse him by saying that we work together, but I will say this. I thank God for him and his advocacy because his and ours and so many others is making a big difference. How do I know that it is making a big difference? Before we go to break. Well, this news story came out a little bit earlier tonight. Kathy Lanier, and you all know that I've been very harsh on the whites. And I'm not talking about race. I'm talking about the white shirts. Not the blue shirts. The blue shirts are the hardcore. They're police. I'm talking about the white shirts, the administrators who sometimes block stuff from happening. Well, earlier tonight, it was released by Mayor Muriel Bowser and also D.C. Police Chief Kathy Lanier that they have closed 12 homicide cases over the past month. 12 homicide cases over the past month. The announcement comes in the final days of a year in which homicides have soared to numbers not seen since 2008. As of Wednesday, 152 people have been killed in the district, up from 96 at the same time last year. That's a nearly 60% increase. And we are ecstatic and thankful and pleased with that success. But that success is not enough to cause us to go into that dark night. We will never relent. We will never cease our demand that not just Shanice Milton's case be solved, but literally every case be solved. That does require the community to get involved. And I know some people, while we have the Human Rights Act in effect in the District of Columbia, where you can't discriminate based on anything, including politics and sexual preference and everything else, there are some people that I don't like him, so I'm not going to tell nobody. I don't like her, so I ain't going to tell. Some people are petty like that. It's okay. It's okay. God's working on your heart. But it's not okay to have critical information and not share it. You all know what you need to do in the District of Columbia. I know that we've been working, and we're working with Howie Coleman. We'll be preparing to expand in the new year to Chicago and New York with the Open Heart Closed Case campaign. I'll just let you all know that now. But it is our desire that we close cases. It is, without a shadow of a doubt. But we can't close them if everyone else remains closed up and bottled up. So there's some things I need for you to do. One, pray. Number one, pray. I need for you all to continue to pray, because prayer breaks down and decomposes the resistance of human beings. God intervenes. I assure you he does. Number two, get in contact with your local police department, your local DC, well, for us, DC MPD, their telephone number, if you wish to get in contact with them regarding cases and things of that particular nature, or to pass on information, 727-9099. That's 202-727-9099. Get in contact with them. Leave a tip. You can do it anonymously. No one has to know your name. Facebook MPD if you have to. No one needs to know who you are. You can leave anonymously information behind. They will take it. They will accept it. They will work with it. Here's the third thing that you need to do. Go to the Open Heart Closed Case campaign and like it. Go there and like it. You'll get information during the course of your busy day about certain homicides, missing cases, missing persons cases, and exploited children, and other alerts that are critical. Quite frankly, as soon as you get the information, as you can pass that information along to others, we would be gratified, because just the other day, after 15 years in Merced, California, a murder case was solved after 15 years because someone made a tip. I am so sincere. We can make a big difference. We can close cases. We can bring a close to the pain and the struggle of the question of who killed the one I love. when we come back from our break, I want to talk with you tonight about how we see the world's politics in the eyes of men in the past. Yes, got into a debate today with somebody regarding Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, and so I want to talk with you. There's a big question tonight also for those who have been following along at Facebook, and let me give you the statement, and we'll give you who made that statement. What great Tea Party conservative said this? We assert in those areas where the government is unable or unwilling to protect the lives and property of our people, that our people are within their rights to protect themselves by whatever means necessary. A man with a rifle or club can only be stopped by a person who defends himself with a rifle or club. What great man once said that? We'll be right back with more of the best and the most important, influential urban conservative show in the world.
Swipe. It's gonna be a right swipe. This man just shaved his chest hair into a heart. Oh, you stole mine. Right swipe.
Right swipe, right swipe. That kind of looks like my sister. It does. But I know she's not.
He's cuddling. I can't.
My God, I'm gonna eat their faces.
Oh, she's hot.
Oh, wait a minute.
That's a lollipop. Oh, that is not a lollipop. Left swipe.
Left swipe.
Look at you with your shirt off, flexing. You're buff, but you puff, hashtag flexing. Yeah, you work out, you're in shape, okay. I like the six-pack abs, not the six-packs a day.
Came across a photo of this green-eyed hottie, whole nine, pretty face, tight waist, nice body. I just couldn't overlook one small fact. She smokes like an old man at a racetrack.
Let's like that. You gotta swipe it left. Yeah. You gotta swipe it left. Like that. You gotta swipe it left. System I don't like, so I gotta left like that.
Mr. World Traveler, your trips look expensive. Sitting on a mountaintop looking all pensive. I'm about to ask, how's the air up there? But based on this pic, I guess you don't really care.
Lots of chicks in the pic, not sure which one's you. Them cigarettes are taking you from 10 to 2s. And one thing's true about your whole crew, none of you cigarella's gonna be my boo.
Smoking with a tiger?
Let's like that.
While you're on a hang glider?
Let's like that. Smoking while acting healthy. Let's like that.
Smoking all stealthy?
Let's like that. Smoking with a duck face. Let's like that.
At a monster truck race?
Let's like that. Smoking at the prom. Let's like that.
Even in a photo bomb?
He don't care. Let's like that.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah.
You gotta swipe it left.
Let's like that.
You gotta swipe it left. System I don't like, so I gotta left
like that.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah.
Hashtag. I'll never remember you.
Hi, my name is Christopher Arnold. I'm the executive chef of the Fuse Restaurant, and today I'm gonna walk you through some of the meals that we prepare here. So we're making a pizza. We use French Italian sausage. They cook here and slice it up. Our pizza dough is an in-house made. Our pizza sauce is in-house made. So everything is fresh and ingredients. This is our Thai curry chicken. The sauce is made with coconut milk and the Thai red curry. It is juicy chicken thighs as well as some mixed vegetables, served with jasmine rice and pita bread. So now we're going to prepare our famous blackened tilapia and grits, our fish and grits on the menu. And our meal will be complete. 80/20 USDA ground chuck ham patty burgers, like half a pound of burgers, and we're gonna grill it to perfection. After I flip the burgers, we add the sauce and let it cook on into the meat just a little bit. We're gonna add a little bit of pepper jack cheese to this burger, spice it up a bit.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's my burger right there. That's my burger. 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland. And my wife tells me I need to say that they cook more than burgers. Okay, so I'm saying they cook more than burgers. She likes the salmon that they do. And they got some type of veggie burger, which is un-American, but I forgive them. 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland 20748. 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland 20748. 301-449-9000. Infuse.com. I don't have to tell you twice. Get there. They cater, and they also have a great brunch. And I am going to do my best to try their bacon pancakes. I want to try it this weekend. I really do. Dave, I want to thank you so much for putting out that note on Facebook. And I want to thank everybody right now who's calling Henderson Long and thanking him. 877-905-5153. And in fact, I want to do something tonight. I normally don't do this because I already have planned what I want to do, what I want to talk about. Some people say that I am slightly a bit persnickety. Well, there's a reason you got to be persnickety, because time runs very... let's see here. All right. I am getting ready to contact Henderson. He doesn't know that yet. Let's see how this works. Let's see. I know you're not supposed to do this kind of stuff, but you know what? I'm just that kind of guy. Put his number in. I'm not going to say it out loud. I have his direct line. But I just want to personally on the air congratulate him for his hard work.
Hello?
Good day, Henderson Long. This is Ken McClinton, and I'm live on the Exceptional Conservative Show. How you doing, sir?
Good morning, sir.
Terrific. Listen, I'm not going to take up a lot of your time, but I wanted to congratulate you on the news regarding Alicia Rudd.
Thank you. I was calling you to tell you I'm going to an event involving a young man who lost his life on the right road. I'm sure you're familiar about it in Northwest Plaza, and I'm going to be there talking about your daughter as well. You're going to try to make up for other people who have lost loved ones and with no answers. People deserve answers. We deserve answers for Shawnee Milton. We deserve answers for a brother who lost his life over at the Margaret Plaza shopping complex. It's unacceptable. We won't let up on them until they investigate these cases to the logical conclusion. And they do better in all senses of the word. Even as far as just number of homicide detectives. You need more. You need more of them to do better.
You're right.
That's one of the things I I'm just disheartened. It's bittersweet. But thank you. You know, thank you for just giving me a call. I appreciate it.
Listen, the entire Exceptional Conservative family that's listening to you live around the world right now thanks you for your dedication and your devotion to the voiceless, individuals who are missing and can't be heard from, those exploited can't be heard from, and those who have been murdered without a case solved. And you have been on that front line, sir, on that battle line for Relisha Rudd. And you've been working with a number of organizations to make certain that the police kept this thing alive. And is it tomorrow that they're going to start the dig or whatever, or did they do that today?
I'm not certain when. I was so tired. I stayed up there for a while. Earlier today, I went to sleep. I'm just waking up. So I'm going to head over in a few minutes and check up on them.
Okay.
No updates. They probably will be hesitant about making a statement. So
yeah.
Once I hear something from them, I'll have them contact you.
Okay.
Directly. So you can give you the official word on it. Because I don't want to say nothing.
Exactly. Well, Henderson, God bless you, sir. Thank you so much. And you keep the faith, man, because you're making a difference.
Can I say one more thing?
Sure.
Mr. McClinton is really the real hero. I mean, you really inspired me to understand how to do advocacy, the wisdom, the leadership, the emotional maturity. You lost your daughter. Most you would be upset. Most you would be cussing, ranting and raving. Lady took up a gun, talking about the police brutality and the police this and the police that. It's just been a disciplined effort. And I'm learning. So I can't take my hat off to myself. I take it off to you.
Well, thank you.
I'm just so grateful.
Wow.
To even have that work with you. And Rob Chitter, same thing.
Yep.
Just discipline. Elder males, giving discipline. It's a problem. Real problem. Where's the connection with the elder males in the community? That's who guides you. Instead of picking up a gun, this is the way you do it. This is the way you advocate. This is the way you put pressure on people who don't want to move, who want to sit there complacent.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just in awe with a little bit of people, all of everything you've accomplished. But just a teeny bit of people. Just imagine.
Wow.
And that's why I keep pushing. Even though I only got one person, I'm gonna push till I get one more.
You got that right.
Yeah, I get one more. I'm gonna keep on going. So thank you, Ken. I'm gonna shut up because I'll be talking about it.
You're fine. Henderson, God bless you, sir. Your lovely wife and your family. Thank you, man. Keep the fight. Keep the faith, man. You're doing great. Thank you. That's Henderson Long from Upward Bound Promotions. This man has been at my side almost as long as Ralph Chittum's has been, and fighting that battle. And when it looked like it was just a few of us, God is telling you in the world right now, He's not looking for huge armies of people to change the world. He's looking for that devoted few who are willing to take on community activists who get paid for keeping unrest, taking on administrators in government who get paid for keeping the status quo, and for breaking down the chains and pulling down the veil from the top down from those who have oppressed and demoralized corporate citizens. Ladies and gentlemen, it only takes a few. Just a few. Okay? Trust me, what we did to get all of this going, most people would sit back and think that we had like an office downtown on K Street. We didn't. We didn't. And I know a lot of people are thinking, and this is not what I wanted to talk about, God, tonight. I didn't want to. A lot of people are thinking, Ken, you're a conservative. Nobody's going to listen to you in D.C. anyway. And stop living off your daughter. You know what I'm saying, man? You move on. But it's not about my daughter alone. God opened my eyes to a situation and a circumstance and a problem that needed change. It wasn't going to change with me grieving. And I know a lot of people are concerned, hey, Ken, why don't you take a little break? I know, but the war is before me, and my hands were made for more war. The fingers were made for battle. I must take on the oppressor. And my oppressor is not the person I see. It's not the administrator. It's not the politician. It's not the banker. It's not the black man or the white man. My oppressor is the evil one. And God has given me the battle and victory already. It's just that I got to illuminate everybody else to know that the victories can be made. What happened between June, when nobody was talking or giving anonymous tips, and all of a sudden in December you saw 12 cases? What happened? Can you explain what happened? Was it sending out $13 million of funding out the door? No, that wasn't it. Because all that money didn't get to everybody. Was it all hands on deck? No, that wasn't it. Because that was only 1 or 2 days. It was simply us telling the truth and hitting the pavement and telling everyone that we're not going to be satisfied with the status quo. You need to get up tonight. You need to get up tonight. Stop depending on the Republican Party. Stop depending on the Democrat Party. Stop depending on Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump. The difference maker is not any of them. The difference maker is you. You're the difference maker. You're the one who's going to help us close cases and bring a certain closure to a family. Sandy Gliss hugged my wife. And it was one of those long hugs that only a mother could share with another mother and completely understand. Both of them sitting in a funeral home, planning the funerals for their daughters who had long lives ahead of them and great promise. And one had a child. One was waiting for her husband to be given to her by God. Get up! Stop asking people to do for you what you can do for yourself and your neighbors. Jesus did not talk about community. Jesus talked about loving you, loving yourself, and loving your neighbor, loving God. Love God with all of your heart, your mind, your soul, your strength. Love your neighbor as you do yourself. If you love yourself, you certainly don't want to be in a position like me, where I'm wondering, after all the years that I've given to the quote-unquote community, why is there no one stepping up and saying anything about Sharnice Milton? Why is there no one stepping up and saying anything about Relisha Rudd? Why isn't there someone stepping up for the exploited teen who's on the streets right now? There are some. It only takes a few. And Dave Milner has it right. The difference maker is in the mirror. When we come back from the break, I want to talk with you about 2 major difference makers and how we see history through their eyes, at least the way we diffuse the way we see history through their eyes. We'll be back with more of the best in urban conservative talk. Thank you all so much for allowing me to vent like that.
Hi, my name is Christopher Arnold. I'm the executive chef of the Fuse Restaurant, and today I'm going to walk you through some of the meals that we prepared here. So we're making a pizza. We use French Italian sausage. They cook here and slice it up. Our pizza dough is an in-house made. Our pizza sauce is in-house made. So everything is fresh and ingredients. This is our Thai curry chicken. The sauce is made with coconut milk and the Thai red curry. It is juicy chicken thighs as well as some mixed vegetables. Served with jasmine rice and pita bread. So now we're going to prepare our famous blackened tilapia and grits, our fish and grits on the menu. Fish is ready, and our meal will be complete. Let me tell you about our infused cheeseburgers. So we keep the spice up just a little bit with our infused sauce. We start off with 80-20 USDA ground chuck ham patty burgers, like apple pounder burgers, and we're going to grill it to perfection. After I flip the burgers, we add the sauce and let it cook on into the meat into the pan.
Oh, that looks good. Oh,
We're going to add a little bit of pepper jack cheese to this burger to spice it up a bit.
oh. You gotta stand up on this one. Oh, lordy, lordy. Oh. Ah. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I'm going to have to take another picture with my wife at Infused Restaurant, 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland, 20748. 301-449-9000, infused.com. What good eating. What good eating. Wow. That's some good eating, people. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a problem in America. The problem in America is that a lot of people think that in order for you to get something done, everyone has to agree with you. Okay? Everyone has to be in agreement. And quite frankly, you can't in any way disagree with one another. Because if you disagree with one another, they can't like you anymore. If they can't like you anymore, then by golly, I can't work with him. And if I ain't going to do nothing with him. And we're killing our neighbors. We're killing ourselves. And by golly, what type of relationship do we have with God if we have that kind of thinking? Ladies and gentlemen, earlier today, and I know a lot of people are going to get on me in the chat room because they love themselves Ralph Chittoms. And I love me some Ralph Chittoms. Ralph is my boy. I really love him. But sometimes we disagree with one another. And so one of the things that I really disagreed on this morning, especially after we talked about affirmative action yesterday, is how people choose to look at Anthony Scalia as a racist for what he said, but look pridefully upon the Black Liberation Collective that supports and organizes the campus discord in America through the Black Lives Matter type thing. Now, U.S. Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia suggested on Wednesday in a high-profile affirmative action case, and we talked about that yesterday. And notice that in the Yahoo News, which I'm reading from, AP reporter wrote it, Liz Goodwin. She is their senior national affairs reporter for Yahoo News, Yahoo Politics, I suppose. The Supreme Court Justice suggested that Black students benefit from a slower track at less prestigious schools and are thus harmed by affirmative action. He says, there are those who contend that it does not benefit African Americans to get them into the University of Texas, where they do not do well, as opposed to having them go to a less advanced school, a slower track school, where they will do well. One of the briefs pointed out that most of the black scientists in this country don't come from schools like the University of Texas. They come from lesser schools, where they do not feel that they're being pushed ahead in classes that are too fast for them. Now, somehow, this gets reported as racism. Oh, he is a racist. And we talked about this. Did we talk about this on Wednesday night? I thought we did. And in fact, if you go to the YouTube channel for us, there's a comment by a gentleman who watched what we said. D. Smith commented, okay, and I'm going to bring that up. No, thank you. No, I'm not going to play me. But D. Smith said, I thought Obama was Hitler. Oh, no, I mean Bush. Oh, no, I mean Bill Clinton. Oh, no, I mean Ronald Reagan. And the list just goes on. If you say anything or nothing, you are either a racist, a fascist, bigoted, hater, worse than Hitler. You're right, D. Smith. You're absolutely right. Thank you. And I'm thanking you already. There's your comment right there. I'm thanking you. You're absolutely right. You listened to the show. You understood what I was saying. He is not a racist for saying something that Thomas Sowell said many years ago in a book. The bottom line is, and I don't know what sense it makes for you to send black kids to a school, or Hispanic kids to a school, or Asian kids to a school, or white kids to a school when they're not going to perform well. Why would you, if you knew your child was going to drown in the pool, why would you push them in without being in a place where they learn how to successfully swim? Why? It doesn't make sense. But we do that and we call it affirmative action. And I agree with Ralph that affirmative action has become something where we want the end product to be the same for everybody. But that's not what affirmative action was about. Affirmative action was supposed to give you a better start so that you would create your own finish. But apparently, because he says, and he, along with many others, will probably agree that the young lady who was rejected from attending the University of Texas in lieu of a lesser qualified black student will probably win her case in affirmative action, at least in the educational realm. How is it bigoted? How is it racist? How is it hating for individuals to say you're not doing well in this? So let's make certain that you go someplace where you can get a degree and be comfortable in your learning and be successful. I thought the objective was success at the end of the race, not at the beginning of the race. And then Ann Taylor, I love Ann Taylor, great supporter. She says that we shouldn't even entertain this conversation. And Daryl Risher says, whatever, this racist SOB may be the best thing that happened to HBCU enrollment. Actually, by the standards of HBCUs, the majority of black students don't graduate on time. And it's not like I'm 51% majority. I'm talking about 80 to 90% of students that go to a HBCU don't graduate on time. Wouldn't it have been better for them to spend 2 years maybe in the military, 2 years maybe at the community college, or even better, starting their own business as entrepreneurs? Maybe learning to become a plumber or a nursing aide or something to that effect. Learning, gaining the disciplines necessary to succeed. College isn't for everybody. And just because you went to college does not guarantee success. The success meant for going to college is a degree. If you leave college and don't have a degree, it wasn't successful. But it might be the best thing that possibly happened to you because you discerned that what you needed couldn't be given to you at that particular place. But somehow, a white conservative justice on the Supreme Court saying the same thing I said to black people is racist. It's not. And we need to stop that crap. That's why we're handicapping our children to be forever dependent on someone else using them as victims. That's what I had to say about that thing. I did not even get to what I want. Dr. King, I only got a few minutes. But the person that said, that Tea Party conservative that said, and let me just get that here. We assert in those areas where the government is either unable or unwilling to protect the lives and property of our people, that our people are within their rights to protect themselves by whatever means necessary. A man with a rifle or a club can only be stopped by a person who defends himself with a rifle or club. You know who said that? Yeah, Tea Party conservative, a white ring extremist, a Republican-oriented kind of thinker. No, the person who actually said that was Malcolm X, black nationalist. Ladies and gentlemen, there are too many of us who want to present the image, an image. Now, I got in trouble with people today on that one. Okay. And I'm really getting on Daryl Wisher's bad list. I don't think I'm going to get anything for Christmas. Fuck Daryl Wisher. He said MLK went to jail for not obeying the laws of the land because he also chose to answer to a higher power. Okay. Well, the laws of the land, that we've already expounded based on the 13th and the 14th and the 15th Amendment, and we didn't even need the 13th and the 14th and the 15th Amendment to do it, but it was assured to protect Abraham Lincoln from his actions during the Civil War. That the Constitution literally says that we are all created in the image of God. Well, it doesn't literally say that, but we're created as free men. And thus, discrimination is not the law of the land. It is instituted by individuals who take power. It is broken by men who stand up to that power. Dr. King stood up to unconstitutional discrimination in our country based on the color of skin. And he, like many other leaders on both sides of the aisle, but especially on the Republican side of the aisle during that fight in the Civil Rights Movement, changed the world. But a lot of people want to use Dr. King and Malcolm X as their profound pillars of argument. Ronald Moden, I want to thank you so much for your comments, sir, on my Facebook page. That's not how the story ended. What story? That Martin Luther King was so pronounced in his anger with Muhammad Ali about joining the Nation of Islam that he made these comments. And let me just set it up for you. When Cassius Clay joined the black Muslims and started calling himself Cassius X, remember, he was Cassius X before he was Muhammad Ali. He became a champion of racial segregation, and that is what we are fighting against. I think perhaps Cassius should spend more time proving his boxing skill and do less talking. Who said that? Martin Luther King. Was Martin Luther King an Islamophobe? Was he? Or was he sharing an opinion that segregation by religious tangent is unacceptable? Ladies and gentlemen, There is no constitutional assurance, either by religion, color, creed, or anything else, to foreign nationals having or aliens having a right to immigrate to this country. I know a lot of people are sashaying and jockeying on the Declaration of Human Rights, but the Constitution speaks for itself. It is not up to the president even, except when using certain articles of the immigration law on an executive basis, an emergency basis. It is up to the Congress to determine who comes in and who stays out of our country. It's not a discrimination to say that you do not want Muslims coming into this country. It really isn't. It's a preference, it's a choice. However, the Muslims, the Mohammedans, need to be talking amongst themselves to find out how they can eradicate those who make it very difficult for them to come into any country. It is the Mohammedans who need to go back and fight the other Mohammedans who are quote-unquote radicalized and take back their nations. And then get rid of Sharia law. Then we will know that you truly want freedom and do not wish to turn America into the next Sharia-bound state. We'll be back with the professor, Dr. Michael Jones, as if he is availed. I want to talk about some other things, but we will be talking about, we'll find out in a moment. This is the Exceptional Conservative Show, live from the nation's capital. When you hear my voice again, we'll be talking about WNJC 1360 AM's New Day, Black and Red. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome the boys and girls from around the world. You are listening to The Exceptional One on WNJC 1360 AM. This is a new day, Black and Red. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, tonight is a very special night. It is Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and I know that you're out there shopping till you drop, getting those special gifts for the ones you love. And even for some of those people that you don't even like. But you're going to get the gifts anyway. I welcome everybody here at WNJC 1360 AM out of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Philadelphia. It is City of Brotherly Love. Also heard in Delaware and also in New Jersey, land of Krispy Kreme. I want to thank everybody for tuning in this afternoon. Last week I went solo. I may have to go solo again on this particular. Oh, no, wait a minute. Did Santa Claus just ring me? Did Santa Claus just tell me that he is ready for his close-up? Oh my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, my very good friend, who is really the co-host of this particular program, but when he comes on, we're going to flatter him and thank him for being the headliner for our program, Dr. Michael Jones, the underground professor. But before I do that, I want to give thanks for Rick Trader, our benevolent dictator and great friend, the one who doesn't exhaust his benevolence. It is eternal, ever-growing, everlasting. And he admits it just to us to give to you. I want to thank him so much for production on today's show. Without further ado, let me call... I hope that you can get this. The great underground professor himself, Dr. Michael Jones. That's one ringy dingy, two ringy dingies, three ringy dingies. What's he tells me he's ready for his close-up, and then this. Okay.
Hello?
Are you wearing khakis?
Say again, sir?
Dr. Michael Jones? Okay. I think we may have had a wrong number on that particular close-up there. Okay. All right. Let us try the ringy-dingy once more. Dr. Michael Jones, my very good friend. You see, this is all... If you're not doing a radio show where it's live, you never get this kind of stuff. New Day, Black and Red. Your host, Ken McClinton, awaiting his great co-host. Wow. Good. Our great host, co-host, the one that makes the world go round, Dr. Michael Jones. Hoo-ah. How you doing, sir?
Oh my gosh! If I wasn't gray-haired before today, I am now. Yeah, I'm sitting here. I just gave up on the dishwasher. I finally figured out what was wrong with what the fix, so I can get the part. But I cooked some dinner, and I'm sitting down 2 nights, and I noticed that someone called me, and it was the Watauga Library, and they were saying, "Where are you?" It's supposed to be here at 7:30, and I was saying, "Oh my gosh!" So I threw on Santa clothes, and I broke every speed limit, ran red lights, and got there, and they had told the crowd of people that were waiting on me. They said that Santa got held up, and before anything else could be said, one of the girls clasped her face with both hands and went, "Oh no, not Santa!" And then they realized, and they said, "No, he got held up in traffic." And she was afraid that Santa had got held up.
Another terrorist action this week. We just can't take another one.
Goodness.
So you helped out a lot of kiddies, and everyone should know Dr. Michael Jones and I belong to an alumni. You happen to be a Kris Kringle kind of guy?
St. Nicholas.
Oh, St. Nicholas kind of. What's the difference between St. Nicholas and Chris Christie? I'm sorry.
Oh, about 300 pounds.
Oh, God.
The difference between Santa and Santa Claus and St. Nick is Santa's a little more commercialized, whereas St. Nick's a little more focused on the reason for the season, you know, putting Christ in Christmas and all that.
Awesome.
So I am an unabashed Christian Santa Claus. And people that hire me, I warn them up front about that.
Mm-hmm.
And because I will talk about baby Jesus and 9 pounds 3 ounces and all that. We talk about, you know, Christmas.
Now, Professor, yes. I know that we did not mean to talk on this particular subject matter, but I feel led to ask you these particular questions because you know that you are a right-wing extremist, a brutal and cruel man who doesn't care about anybody.
Did you say right-wing or white-wing?
White-wing. White-wing.
Yeah. White-wing. That's what I thought you said, you bastard.
A right-wing conspiracies, all that kind of stuff. How did you get to be a Santa Claus? And are people shocked when they know that it's you?
Well, some are. Some know it without a doubt that I am Santa. A lot of people try to tell me that Santa Claus or St. Nicholas or whoever would be a Democrat or a liberal progressive these days.
Yeah.
And they say that it's, you know, this is what Democrats do. They give away stuff to people who haven't earned it. Well, I beg to differ with this, and that is that Santa Claus, and we're going to do a show on this on my show either next Sunday or the Sunday after.
Mm-hmm.
But Santa Claus, one of the things he doesn't do is he doesn't take stuff from you and put it underneath other people's Christmas trees. And that's what Democrats do. They take it from under my Christmas tree and put it under yours.
Yeah.
And plus, the kids have to earn their presents. You know, the whole not racial profiling, but the whole profiling Santa does. You know, I profile kids and put them on naughty and nice lists. And they have to write letters to me or sit in my lap and tell me what they want. They have to be good. Yeah, there's a whole series of hoops that they have to jump through each year.
So there's a vetting process for kids.
There is. I call it profiling. But, yes. But you know, we're not forcing people under duress to donate to other people's Christmas presents, which is what, if the Democrats were to take over Christmas, they would create a tax, a Christmas tax, and they would tax, you know, only the wealthy, but it would end up taxing everybody but the uber poor. And they would use that money they take for people to buy Christmas gifts for people who were on the naughty list.
Because they want to keep their constituency.
That's exactly right.
Wow.
I had a Chinese family tonight, and one of the little girls, you know, they just moved from China, and she couldn't speak any English yet. I mean, she's like 4 years old, maybe. And they were talking to her and then translating to me, and I told them they didn't have to do that, and I talked to her. And you should have seen them when I spoke a little bit of Chinese to them, and I don't have very many words of Chinese, mind you, Japanese mostly.
Yeah.
But that kid was just amazed, and so was her older sister. that I even knew they were Chinese, let alone that I could say a couple of words in it. And that just, and they asked me how I knew, and I said, well, I'm Santa. And they just both leaned into me and gave me this great big hug.
Wow.
Yeah, that's one of my memories I'll keep forever. Now, affirmative action. I know I actually had you on Ustream on my phone. I didn't even know I could do that, but I had you on Ustream. And I was listening to that. And I find it interesting because if you look at the facts, affirmative action exists. Yes or no? Yes. And what does it do? It puts minorities, not including Asians, mind you, because we discriminate against Asians with affirmative action. And white people. We don't allow white people to use affirmative action, even though there are places where whites are the minority.
Yeah.
And we put them into schools with affirmative action. Now, if all we were doing, like when Clarence Thomas went to school, he was recruited by Claremont or whatever, and he first had to pass all of their rigorous standards before he was allowed in. And it was only the fact that he was black after he passed every other requirement that got him in. So, when people say that he got into school because of affirmative action, it's absolutely wrong. But if all we were doing was taking people that were, say, black and putting them in the colleges, that would be okay if it was truly to offset the discrimination factor. But it doesn't do that. It cannot do that, and it never will do that. And what we end up having, and this is as a professor, I'm telling you, I know firsthand, what we do is we take students that should be in junior college and get a couple of years under their belts and then apply for a 4-year degree, or just take a 2-year degree, associates. What we do is we stick them into a 4-year university. And those people who should go to like a state college, a regular old college, we put them in Ivy League schools. And so what we're doing is we're not only taking these black students and putting them into college, we're bumping them up to a level of college that they are not academically prepared for. And then 78% of blacks and other minorities that are affirmatively action placed in college, meaning not those that are minorities and qualified for the school they're in, but those who aren't, fail. And out of that 78% failure rate, about 95% of them never go back to a college that they're qualified for. So when we stick them in Harvard and they fail, they don't go back to UTA or University of Texas and try. And so what we've done is we've not only bumped up our numbers saying, look, how good we white people are, we're putting blacks in colleges, but we are forever destroying their collegiate careers by doing so. We're not doing anything to help them. We're, in fact, you always got to follow the results. Now, what they want to be judged for is their intentions, what they say their intentions are, to put black people into colleges. But I think their intention is to make black people fail in college so that they have a subset of people that they can always have dependent on government.
Exactly.
And it's a highly successful program if you look at it in those positions. They're victorious. And they're not looking to balance in results, like everybody gets a college degree. What they're trying to do is balance the entry into these things, and it's just like all their other programs. They don't want everybody to have the American dream and equal results. They want, conservatives, we're always saying equal opportunity to try, and those that succeed, are rewarded, and those that fail are fail. That's conservatism.
Yeah.
But they want everybody to automatically be a success, and a success they rate as someone who gets to go to a college that they are undeserving of. Now, how in the world would you call that something good?
It isn't. It isn't.
To protect it, though, Ken, we call it racism for pointing it out, because we can't have it scrutinized.
Exactly. What we're talking about tonight, Forgive me. Well, it actually is tonight, but it's 5 p.m. in Philadelphia, and it's probably dark. And
Dark. There you go again.
The racist. There you go. Racist. The LA Times has written a article about the comments made by Justice Antonin Scalia regarding the affirmative action case that's set before them, regarding a young lady suing Texas University for, quite frankly, not allowing her to go there as a white woman because a black student, a minority who was considered a higher standard minority with lower skills, got in, took her place. So she's suing. And these are the comments that Scalia made. He said there are those who contend that it does not benefit African Americans to get into the University of Texas where they do not do well, as opposed to having them go to a less advanced school, a slower track school where they do well, Scalia said. He cited a brief that he said pointed out that most of the black scientists in this country don't come from schools like the University of Texas. They come from lesser schools where they do not feel they're being pushed in classes that are too fast for them. Now, probably what the racists heard was lesser schools. And so that gets them all on their stuff bunched up, and they're ready to go off to say that black kids can't perform. But it's not subjective performance in school. Am I correct, sir?
No, well, it's supposed to be objective, but there are subjective parts to it.
Yeah.
Keep this in mind, Ken. I've had a lot of black students who are upset over the fact that people think they're there because of affirmative action. There was even one of my students who made some money by making up T-shirts that he sold. They were black shirts with white letters, and it said, "I'm here on my merits, not affirmative action." And it sold very well amongst black students on campus.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, they're super sensitive about it. Now, but that's only one track, okay, on that. Now, you've got another problem with affirmative action, and that's this, Ken. It's the black community.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Now, Professor, there you go again.
Racist! Racist!
Yeah, I'm about to be a big racist here. I have had students that have pretended to be idiots in class because they didn't want to be made fun of by other black students, being Uncle Toms or trying to act white or whatever. And so they would pretend to be stupid. I even took one and filed plagiarism charges against him until I found out he really was as smart as he claimed on paper. But he acted like an idiot in my classroom because the other black students picked on him. You have that problem because the community has somehow labeled getting an education as equivalent to being white.
Mm-hmm.
And even if it is, who cares? You know, you want to survive in white man's world and be treated equally and make the same kind of money? Try doing what the white people are doing. I mean, is that bad? But you also have in the black community the parents who tear down their kids and say, you can't do anything because it's a white person's world, or you're not smart enough, or, you know, you're going to have the government help you if you're going to do anything like this. They are constantly told from birth how they can't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not limited to black people. That's just, you know, that's a pretty widespread problem. From rich people down to, you know, to poor people. It knows no cultural bounds. It knows no economic bounds. But as a community, it is widespread in the black world, and it's dangerous. It's detrimental, and that if you don't break that, then it doesn't matter what kind of government programs you do or how hard professors work or any of that, because you're not going to succeed past it.
You're absolutely
It's a
right.
self-imposed barrier. On top of that, we're making our students fail in school. And if you combine this all together, it's a disaster waiting to happen. This is exactly what we got. The good news is now you've got an uneducated student who has failed in college and has amassed a student debt for nothing.
There you go.
And somehow he's supposed to pay that off too.
Literally, and I'll just make this point before I go to Stockings for Soldiers. But we practice a self-inflicted genocide intellectually by not assessing the skill sets necessary for our children to succeed from the moment they're born until they graduate from college. The bottom line is there are things that can be done in our community, but there is such a religious pride towards programs like affirmative action, which has never been done well, whether business-wise or education-wise. And we create this ideal that if we don't do it of our own merit, well, gosh darn it, because you're black, they're going to give it to you. And that's just not the way life works. It doesn't work that way. And our grandparents and our great-grandparents told themselves it doesn't work that way. The expectation was not that someone would give them a handout. The expectation was, I'm going to do well regardless of what's imposed against me. That's the difference in the thinking, in the mindset of being free and being a slave. Ladies and gentlemen, Stockings for Soldiers this Christmas season. Hey! Stockings for Soldiers Delaware Incorporated was founded to help improve the morale and welfare of members of the armed forces of the United States of America deployed in harm's way. We accomplished that mission by sewing holiday stockings and filling them with special items for the troops. Many of the stockings that we send are for a specific person with their name sewn on the stocking, people. And for many of our troops, our gift is all they receive for the holidays. We're trying to send a touch of home as well as a personal message of support to remind our troops that we appreciate all they do for us and to let them know that they have not been forgotten over the holidays. We depend on the generosity of others to help us to accomplish our mission. Stockings for Soldiers Delaware Incorporated is a 501c3 nonprofit. You got a little cash. I know you can donate it, but ask your tax professional if it is deductible. If you would like to make a donation to our community project, please send your check to Stockings for Soldiers Delaware Incorporated, 1911 Folk Road, that's F-O-U-L-K Road, Wilmington, Delaware, 19810. They thank you, and New Day Black and Red thanks you for supporting our soldiers here at home and abroad.
And we thank you.
Yeah, we be thanking you. I want to bring up a subject matter before we get into the Crusades. But I had a discourse with some people today who have this narrative that Dr. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X agreed on everything, and that they, culminating the civil rights movement, didn't see a problem with Islam. Now, I want to read to you, sir, because I just learned how to do it yesterday. I want to read to you an article by Daniel Greenfield. Forgive me. And the quote is, Martin Luther King, when Muhammad Ali joined black Muslims, he became what we are fighting against. This is his quote, Martin Luther King, I either have to deny the laws of the land or the laws of Allah. I'm sorry, that was Muhammad Ali. I have to either have to obey the laws of the land or the laws of Allah. This is what Martin Luther King said about Cassius Clay becoming Cassius X, later Muhammad Ali. When Cassius Clay joined the black Muslims and started calling himself Cassius X, he became a champion of racial segregation, and that is what we are fighting against. I think perhaps Cassius should spend more time proving his boxing skill and do less talking. That was Dr. Martin Luther King. Now, is Dr. Martin Luther King an Islamophobe? Is he a racist?
Yes. And he was a Republican too. Let's point that out.
Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, Martin Luther King did not break good laws. He protested with civil disobedience bad law.
Yeah.
And there's a difference here. He went to jail and was okay with it because he knew that was the price to pay for his civil disobedience. He did not try to avoid that. He said, okay, I'm going to go to jail for this, but it's important enough to protest with civil disobedience. Bad law. What he wanted was for the Democrat Party to follow the Constitution and the laws and the Voting Rights Acts that were passed by the Republicans since the 1840s or 30s, whenever we started putting out one after another.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, that whatever that guy was on Facebook, I'm not sure if he realizes everything that you were saying here, you know, and the historical difference here is that Martin Luther King realized that the Nation of Islam was a scam and that it was going to set blacks back because it was trying to set them apart. Instead of being inculcated into the American community, it was establishing a duality of racial communities, and that's what we have today. And that's why we still have problems today. And I argue that's why the black community has not progressed today, because we're stuck in that channel. And had they adopted the American way and become Americans, and instead of looking at it as the white way of doing things, look at it as the American way of doing things, which is actually what it is, then we would have a whole different system here. And if they had not taken their 30 pieces of silver from the Democrat Party, then, you know, they also would be a lot better off today too.
You're absolutely right. And now Ali, after leaving the Nation of Islam, made the comment. Well, actually, left the Nation of Islam, endorsing, denouncing terror per se, and stated, "I either have to obey the laws of the land or the laws of Allah." You mentioned 30 pieces of silver, and that triggered something for me in this particular story. It is how Muhammad Ali attempted to coerce Sugar Ray Robinson into joining the Nation of Islam. Let me read the story to you. It says, Sugar Ray Robinson recounts a conversation from this era that nicely captures the nation's ethos. As he tells it, Robinson invited the new champ down to Jamaica to serve as a celebrity trainer at a Robinson fight. One night, he and his wife Millie were sitting poolside with Ali and his new wife Sonji, when a shooting star passed through the heavens. Upon seeing it, Ali leaped up and shouted without a hint of irony, "The white man is destroying the world." He explained to Robinson that only Allah and his messenger, Elijah Muhammad, could save the world from destruction, and pleaded with him to join the saved. As an incentive, Ali continued, the messenger was prepared to lay $700,000 on him, $1 from each Muslim in America. That number might be slightly higher today. Robinson was unimpressed. He told a chagrined Ali that he would not join the Nation of Islam for $7 million. You know your slogan, the white man is a devil, the white devils. That's not right. You can't live in this world hating people, said Robinson. He reminded Ali that he was a Christian. All the Christian religions preach love for your fellow man. So how is it that a Christian like Ebony Williams would go on the O'Reilly show and tell me that it is incorrigible that Donald Trump believes that we should stop Muslims from coming into our country?
Well, I would make the argument again, Ken, that they're not really Christian, that they just adopt the title.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think that they are, for either personal or political reasons, allowing the destruction of America for a little bit of money or power.
Mm-hmm.
And that this has really nothing to do with reality for them. They could care less what happens to America. And there is a sizable faction in America that thinks because it was a colonial power, which it never really was, but they call it that, that we need to be punished. That's the whole mindset of the Obamas and the people that support him, is that colonial America needs to be punished, and our sins of slavery, disregarding history and reality and what we did to get rid of it, unlike any other nation. We're the only one that spilled that much blood in slavery. But the idea that America is evil as it is now, and so we need to stress all of the resources. We need to stress the military. We need to stress the government and the ability of the cops, etc. We need to separate people from God, religion, and veneration of authority. And then with the chaos, they'll come in with whatever they've decided is the right way of doing things. And it seems to have shifted from a move towards Marxism to a move towards Muslim Marxism, or Islamo-Marxism, however you want to say it. And I think that those are the people that are out there pushing this right now, a one-world government under a caliphate instead. And so you see this is what's going on with these decisions and propaganda and political choices that are being made.
You are listening to one of the most brilliant men in America, and not just because he pays me to say it. I feel it. Dr. Michael Jones, the underground professor. We are produced by the benevolent dictator Rick Trader. You're listening to us on WNJC 1360 AM at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on the East Coast, of course, the best coast, and in the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Delaware, New Jersey, and around the world on Conservative Commandos Radio Network. I meant to talk with you, sir, about the Crusades, because we hear so often, sir, about us angry, bitter Christians who tried to kill the Muslims and to destroy the Muslims.
Well, that was true. All these Muslims were sitting there minding their own business, killing Christians, chopping their heads off and taking their money and land. And we butted in where we had no business but them.
Exactly. Now I wanted to go through some of the causes of the Crusades, and I wanted to get your commentary on that, because it would be a shame just to hear my own. You know.
Well, I can tell you what they were: global warming, the Republican Party, and George Bush.
They most certainly were. Actually, that was the #1 answer: climate change. You know, thank God for Copernicus. But.
Yes, so that's what Galileo, you know, that's really what happened to him. He was a denier, and they got rid of him.
Yeah, that hasn't changed in our societies of today. It really hasn't. I want you. There was at one time that Muhammad asked his followers to pray towards Jerusalem. Then when he became a cultic military leader, he made them change because, quote unquote, God told him to tell the people to pray towards Mecca, because that would be a serious test for them.
Yeah, well, that whole Mecca and Medina thing, that, you know, the Sunni and the Shiites. One of the things you can go back and look about Muhammad, it's kind of interesting, is that every time someone managed to shut him down or refuse him, then he had to change everything he was doing. So when he couldn't get the suckers to vote for or to follow him, then he changed where you need to vote, or not vote, but pray. Which direction you have to pray. He killed his own family because they wouldn't believe in it. Yeah, and he had, like, out of 10 years, he got like 150 followers, Ken, until he added looting and raping and pillaging to the Islamic code. And when he did that, you know, if you think about it, goal of Islam is to go to paradise.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to go to paradise, you have to be a good Muslim. And in order to be a good Muslim, you have to be a pedophile, a rapist, what's the word I want? Not pedophile. I already said that one, but a pederasty.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you have to go for pederasty and blowing up innocent people, raping, pillaging, stealing, and that gets you into paradise. And they are the only religion, if you can call it that, in the history of mankind where performing evil deeds is considered good.
Yeah. And I believe that God referred to those who practice that behavior as those who say that good is evil and evil is good. Might it be a reference to those who happen to be following that I'm thinking polygamy, forgive me, but poly
I bet your life you better not be thinking.
I'm not thinking that. No. Oh my God. No, I'm not thinking that.
You can come back to me and
WNJC 1360 AM. Segue. One of the causes of the Crusades, and why I bring that subject up is that he became a military leader. He recognized that he couldn't gain power unless they created a constitution that would supplant the tribal uprisings, the Constitution of Medina being that, and then later on, those who came behind him understood that they needed to destroy the Christians and the Jews because they were in the way of their holy land. Well, the Holy Land was in the way of their caliphate. Apparently in 1065, on the way to Jerusalem, the Turks took over the country. And they...
an empire.
Yeah, and they slaughtered 3,000. I don't know. Can we say slaughtered without it being racist or Islamophobic?
Well, no. They encouraged in the strongest way the Christians to become Muslims or to go to hell.
3,000 Christians were slaughtered, massacred even. And the remaining...
Which is why the Pope got involved.
Exactly. Pope Urban. You know what's up? You know what I'm saying? Pope Urban II.
Which is the first black pope, if you know, because Urban is a code for black.
There you Yes, it is. We had to put that in there, didn't we? Pope Urban.
I don't know where some of this comes from, I tell you.
And from that point on, the Holy Land was no more. It was trampled and taken by the Mohammedans. Then there was the forced religious convictions.
Right, in Jizra.
And then there was always the instinct to fight, as we spoke of earlier. They could never rest thinking that there was a Christian empire to the west of them in Europe. So they stretched from northern Africa to Persia, in terms, and even Spain, along these particular assaults upon the Christian nations. Pope Urban, now Pope Urban also wanted to do something that was highly improbable, and that was to bring back Rome. Bring back the West and the East as one, and under the auspices of the church. Why is that incredibly impossible, sir?
Well, I don't know that it was impossible back then, except for that there just wasn't enough money put into it and enough will.
There you go.
Yeah, but you know, it's the problem with the Crusades isn't that it was done or that we did it. It was done for the right reasons initially. But there were other political considerations, and you know, the church may have not have been the best thing to be leading this either, because the church was going through corruption problems and stuff, and you know, they were selling dispensation.
Yes.
If you went to the Holy Land and fought, then all your sins would be forgiven. You know, that's just, well, that's a whole philosophical debate we can get into, but it annoys me. It makes me mad that these things were done. But, you know, it's history. It's the way it is. You can't sugarcoat it.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been done a lot better, a lot smarter, and we could have done it. But we also completely underestimated the Muslims, the Muslimen. We thought they were savages and idiots, and we had no idea, you know, of the fever that Islam spread amongst them, and their desire, their greed and desire for land and money and stuff. And they actually, even when Muhammad was alive, started believing that land was theirs and Christians took it from them. You know, ignoring the fact that they had never existed, and Christians had lived there for, you know, centuries.
Mm-hmm.
And they, you know, were a brand new religion. So they had no historical right to the land or anything, but they converted into Islam and decided that the land went with them. And so they killed and took people's property and money and land and women, and they raped and cut people's heads off, and you know, disgusting things. I mean, evil. This is pure evil.
Mm-hmm.
And the Ottoman Empire became extremely powerful and has been called one of the greatest, if not the greatest, empires. It certainly rivaled Rome for a while.
Yeah.
And had quite a long longevity. And this is not something to sneeze at, Ken, because the Ottoman Empire is exactly what they're trying to recreate today.
Thank you.
We call it a caliphate, but this is the caliphate they're trying to create Ottoman Empire 2.
Mm-hmm.
2.0, I guess we would say.
Mm-hmm.
And it's scary.
Yeah, it is. Now, a lot of people have this ideal, as we're listening to Dr. Michael Jones, the underground professor, and the exceptional one, Ken McClinton, on New Day Black and Red, on Conservative Commandos Radio Network, and WNJC 1360 AM, out of Philadelphia, PA. There was a Constitution of Medina, and that was created in 622 AD. It was created so that Muhammad could arrest the tribal unrest and adjoin the tribes so that they could fight and then take over the lands. Now, a lot of people think that, you know, that Islam is a religion of peace. But from its origins, it is a religion of violence. And in Article 1 of that Constitution, it reads, "This is a constitutional document given by Muhammad, peace be upon them, the prophet, messenger of God." If you go down to the Article 20, it clearly states, "A Jew who obeys us," a Jew who obeys us, the state, shall enjoy the same right of life protection as the believer do, so long as they, the believers, are not wronged by him, the Jews, and he does not help others against them. So literally, they have been from the beginning attempting to annihilate the Jews. And then there is Article 24, and then I'll let you comment. "Islam is the best code of life. All the God-fearing believers are under the best and most correct guidance of Islam." There are those who are here, socialists, who go on the air and defend the policies of the ISIS and Al-Qaeda because we have been so wholly unrighteous, and think that because it is a quote-unquote religion of peace, that it is a tolerable religion. I want your commentary regarding that.
Well,
you can call anything what you want, but it doesn't change what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad would always say, you can't make pumpkin pie out of pasture patties. And so, you know, that's what we're trying to do here by defending Islam, ISIS, ISIL, or whatever the president wants to call it. And Muhammad had the Council of Medina so that he could unite tribes and drive Christians out of and Jews out of there. You got to remember that one of the reasons Islam hates Jews so much is because Muhammad's family were Jews, and they rejected Islam. They rejected that Muhammad figured it all out. He was the one that got it right, and that he was the prophet. They laughed at him. You know, it's like, what are you talking about? You know, it would be like me or you coming home and saying, "Hey, honey, God just told me the right way to do everything. Oh, everybody's got it all wrong and has always, and now I know the right way." But most of our families look at us like we're on crack.
Yeah.
And so, you know, this is why he killed his family. The man who raised him, you know, he was adopted, and he killed the man who raised him, and slaughtered his family and his relatives and friends for that. But they hate Jews because Jews wouldn't buy into his crap. And they would point out why, and that made him mad because they could use logic and reason and history and show him he was wrong. And that infuriated. You know, there's nothing worse than someone who has power and is a complete idiot and doesn't like being told he has no clothes on. I mean, look at it. Today you have a perfect example. You have Muhammad, and now you have Obama.
Yeah.
And they're both exactly the same mentality. They're both idiots. They both take, you know, facts and change them and massage them, or, you know, or present them in such a way as they're providing evidence for something that they're not providing evidence for. You know, very sophomoric arguments. And there you go. Look, he's got power, so he can smite people back. He can hurt people. And so he does. And that's what Muhammad did. And a very little known fact, it was actually called the Council of the Funky Cold Medina.
WNJC 1360 AM. This is New Day Black and Red with your host, Ken McClinton, the exceptional one, and Dr. Michael Jones of Funky Cold Medina. Steve, the underground professor he is. Article 51 of that particular Constitution. And this is why I don't understand why a woman like Ebony Williams will get on the air and defend Islam. I don't understand why Mohammedans don't defend their own religion. You know,
they're Dehemis, Ken, and I can promise you, these same people who go out and make constitutional arguments and have never read the Constitution, the same ones that have never read the Quran are out making these arguments. They've not studied it, and they're given a talking point, and because it fits a political narrative or helps them to help create chaos in this country, then they run with it. They're not out there expecting you to believe it, because you aren't supposed to believe that. They know that you won't believe it. These are for the uninformed, the low information voters. You remember how last election cycle everybody used that term, low information voters? It was quite the vogue. But they're the useful idiots. That's why they say this stuff, because there's enough people out there, Ken, who will hear it and believe it because they've heard it, or they saw it on TV, or they read it in the paper. They won't do any of their own investigation.
Exactly.
You know, and unlike you and I, we're always telling people, back it up. Go check out what I say. Don't just take my word for it. But these people know that most people won't do that. And so they say these comments, and if that's what you hear first, then that's what you tend to believe. And so it's very effective as a tool, because most people in America are mushrooms.
Yeah.
They like living in dark closets and having manure shoved under the door to keep them fed.
Well said. Article 51 of this particular Constitution of Medina A woman shall not be given any shelter without the consent of her family. From the very beginning, the degradation of women has been constitutionalized amongst those who believe in Mohammedanism. How is it then that I can have women actually saying that there is a legal precedent for Islam to be accepted as constitutional here under Sharia law?
Well, you got to say, you know, even a stopped clock is right twice a day. You know, Islam didn't get it all wrong. No, it was not created for women. You know, Islam was created for a militant male that is willing to take other people's stuff by force. And so from the very beginning, to get the right kind of people into the religion, he had to appeal to people who were misogynists, people who hated women or treated them like property and did not value them for, you know, the beauty and the creativity that they are.
Yeah.
The blessing of Eve, you know, it's degraded through Islam. And so, and there are, Ken, a lot of people who like being property. Make no mistake, there are a lot of people out there who like being property.
Yeah.
There's a lot of women in Islam that are very happy to be property and to be told what to do and where they can go, and there's security in that. You can look at it closer to home. There are a lot of people in the Democrat Party that are property to the Democrat Party. And they're vassals, you know, they're slaves, they're servants to the party. And they require, you know, the government and the Democrat Party for their subsistence, for their life, for their shelter, for their food, their clothing, their education. Everything comes from the party and the government. And that makes you property of the government. And so it appeals to a very wide segment of the civilization. America is a little bit different, where we used to be about the individual and about freedom and having our liberties, and that we would kill or even risk our own life for that. But I don't think that that's the majority of this country anymore.
Exactly. You also mentioned the role of the state, the power of the state. The people hide behind that particular power. And Article 60 of the Constitution, to be the last thing I refer to here, favor of Almighty Allah will be subject to the observance of the Constitution. Verily, God is the guarantee for the faithful observance of the contents of this Constitution, which shall be enforced by the state. When we hear those on the left, and even those on the right, who make these comments that the state knows best, per se, or the government can do a better job of this, the government is a better protector of the citizenry than the citizenry itself. Are they not falling in line with the same type of minutia that led these individuals to agree to this particular Constitution?
Well, I think so, yeah. I think so. You know, it's kind of like garbage in, garbage out, you know?
Yeah.
You've heard that term?
Yeah.
Well, what you have is, at least with Christianity, you've got Christ. And we all know that we're fallen and we're sinners and whatnot, but we're trying to be like Christ. And when we fail, we stop and we pick ourselves back up and we try again. But with Islam, they're like taking the opposite tact. You know, I mean, for instance, women aren't going to heaven or paradise or whatever you want to call it. All the women are going to hell.
Yeah.
Basically, in Islam. And the only way you can go into heaven as a female is if a male member does something so great that it brings you with them. Excuse me, I think that when you see things like this, well, I don't know, it saddens me that people fall for it.
Yeah.
Because it only takes 15 minutes of research, actual real research, like, 15 minutes of real research to see, about 50 errors in Islam of how it's wrong. And with a little bit of knowledge of knowing that, his ideas of Christianity are bastardized. And he didn't get them from Christians, he got them from the Gnostics.
Yeah.
Which is, a very interesting thing. The things that he got from Judaism, he twisted and changed to fit his own narrative. And so, are you really wanting to risk your soul when it's so easy to see where the information came from and how it was massaged and changed? And knowing this, and knowing that you're part of a culture that hates women and treats them as property and hurts them, and that favors rape, favors pedophilia, that favors pedestry, favors stealing, killing, dismembering people, violence for people not doing worship right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you want to be a part of? Osama, how do you say his name? Osama Dadok? I can't remember how to say his name now.
Yeah.
He gave me a Quran that he went through and wrote. Now, he was Islamic. And very quickly, he got into a car wreck. Some Christians pulled him out of the car, helped him with his bills, helped him recover. And when he saw the love of Christ, he had this epiphany and converted to Christianity, making him an apostate. But what he did was he sat down with the Quran and he translated it, and then he explained it. And it's a very interesting Quran. And you can find it online. I think you can buy them in Amazon even. And maybe someone in the chat room would know how to get his Qurans. But if you are a supporter of Islam, get the Quran that Osama Dadok translated and learn about your religion. Most of the Quran, the one in Arabic, most of the people who follow it cannot read it. Yeah. Even those who speak Arabic cannot read it because they're mostly illiterate in the written word. And they take what the imams tell them and not what the Quran actually says. And they don't have any outside historical references like the Bible or the knowledge of the Gnostics and whatnot to compare to find, how this information was garnered and put into the Quran or the redactions as you move through the Quran. TheGenerousQuran.org. Thank you, guys.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you get the book, TheGenerousQuran.org. And it won't take you very long to figure it out. So what blows my mind is the ease of learning how wrong Islam is and the stubbornness of people to change their paradigm to something else, knowing that it's wrong. But that is human nature, and that's what we're up against today.
And we're also
straightway.org.
And we're also up against the clock, which says we must say goodnight. But we want, what? But from all of us at New Day Black and Red, the underground professor, Dr. Michael Jones, Ken McClinton, the exceptional one, and Rick Trader, our producer for Conservative Commandos Radio Network, we want to thank you so much for tuning in to New Day Black and Red. We'll be back next Saturday at 5 p.m. with more exciting conversation, talk, and insight. God bless you, and God bless those you love. Now, for all of those who have tuned in tonight to the Exceptional Conservative Show, live from the nation's capital, I want to thank Dr. Michael Jones for coming on the air with us. I also want to thank you for tuning in. A person once told me, a great man once told me, live bravely so you never have to die a coward. I promise you I always will. Always remember that God has blessed America. Now it's time for America to bless God. From all of us to you, God bless and good night.
Toodles.
Toodles. Good night, sir.
Good night, my brother. I hope that's what you wanted to cover.
We did it well. We did it well.